Welcome to Fearless Females, where ambition meets resilience. Meet your guide, Lorie Jones, owner of Fearless Financial Advisors. Join her and remarkable women executives as they uncover the triumphs and transformative moments shaping extraordinary careers. Ready to be fearless? Let the journey begin.
Good morning, Fearless Females. Thank you so much for joining us again. Big shout out to our sponsor, Fearless Financial Advisors. So today we're talking with Erika Walters. And the piece that I loved the most about this interview was her idea of, she found herself without a job and she had to basically spin up a company overnight. And I loved hearing this story. You're going to want to listen. It's so interesting. She said, I was so mad. I was so determined that I just built my business overnight. I applied for my LLC. I put together a website. I just made it happen. I was determined no one was going to stop me. And I love that thought of just like putting your shoulder to the wheel, just kind of pressing on, and you're going to make this happen come heck or high water. But the part that I found most enlightening about this phase of Erika's life is that she said, I didn't know what I was doing, but I wasn't afraid to ask for help. And I think that's such an important thing to remember is that there's a lot of people, when you're honest about the fact that you don't know and you could use some help, they step up, they show up, and they're willing to help you. I thought it was so funny. She had like $2,500 and she paid for coffee, and she took people out to coffee and just asked their opinion, and they were so willing to help and support her. Now, Erika is a lovely woman, and so I can imagine that you would be willing to support and help her. But it just kind of goes to show that ask. There are people that want to help. There are good people. And I firmly believe this. There are good people in this world who just want to help other good people do good things. So let's get started with Erika. Good morning, Fearless Females. So I'm so excited. Today we have with us Erika Walters. She's the owner and attorney of Walters Law. And I've known Erika for almost a year now. I am so excited for you to get to hear her story. Thanks so much for joining us, Erika.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited also.
So, Erika, I always start out with the same question. I'm a reader. I love books, any kind, shape, size. What is your favorite?
That is such a hard question. There is zero way that I can answer that question. I mean, I feel like we have books for our seasons of life. I mean, I'm a millennial, so I'm a Harry Potter freak. I love all things fantasy, probably because my job is so technical that it's nice to be able to escape into another place. But I go through phases. Every now and again, I want a romance. I read a really fabulous mystery yesterday. Highly recommend. It was called The Silent Patient. If anybody wants to check it out, it was really good.
Cool. That's great. Yeah, I know. I do. I actually do think that's the hardest question because you can't ask me to pick just one favorite. You can ask me to pick one favorite today, but
Mm-hmm.
And I love the Harry Potter series too. Have you been to the Universal or the Harry Potter land yet?
I have. Yeah. I mean, it's been years, so I think they've done some updating to it. But my favorite is when I'm feeling down, my husband can always tell because I have all the audiobooks I like the narrator Jim Dale version, and it'll just be on in the background of whatever I have going on in my life. And I find it very comforting.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. I actually felt a little sad when they stopped putting out the Harry Potter books because it was always kind of a thing to go to the bookstore and camp out at nighttime and buy the book. And yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your journey, Erika. Tell me how you got started, where you're at today, kind of what you're doing, just a little bit about you.
And we're talking professional journey. Yeah.
Yeah. But, if you want to start a little bit sooner and go into grade school and high school, why you decided to be who you are, that works.
Yeah. I mean, so professionally, I'm one of those people that never, ever thought I would end up where I am doing what I'm doing in the way that I'm doing it. My life took a lot of really unexpected turns, and so did my career. And so now I own my own law firm. I run it with my husband, who is not an attorney. And so people find that very strange. And how did it happen? And I don't know. I couldn't tell you how it happened, right? It happened. God, it happened. That's how it happened. But I have been on my own for a little over 2 years now. I couldn't be more grateful to have that ability. But in terms of like going to law school, it was very by accident. I had a completely other career. My husband and I were kind of doing our pre-baby bucket list of travel. And we were at this random restaurant in Italy. And we were like at the table that was there, or it's communal. Everything is communal. So the person that we shared a table with was also an attorney. And we got to talking, and I was kind of dissatisfied with the trajectory of my career. And he's like, have you ever thought about going to law school? And that kind of put the bug in my ear. And then it was very much, well, like, let's just see if I study for the LSAT, and let's just see if I apply, and let's just see if I get in. And then I found myself in my first year law class, and it was a property law class. And it was like something clicked immediately. Like, oh, this makes sense. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then it was very much like that throughout the rest of my career. Like I had a very different type of law in mind that would not have been a family-friendly career. That would have been very, very high stress. I would not have been able to be my own boss. And, doors were closed and other ones were opened at different phases that very much put me in the position that I am now.
Mm-hmm. So what were you going to school for, or what were you trained for before you went into law?
I was in higher education. So I did like financial advising, student success and support. I worked at DU.
Uh-huh. And you were just traveling, and see, that's why you need to travel, huh? So that you can have these conversations with people that kind of lead you to your life's path. What was the other branch of law that you were thinking of going into that wouldn't have been so family friendly?
I wanted to do like the bougie corporate law and the big downtown building with like mergers and acquisitions and contracts. I actually did an internship doing that. And, the people there were not still married. And if they were still married, they had one spouse who primarily stayed at home. It was very difficult for them to see their children. And this kind of piggybacks into also how I ended up doing the type of work that I do, but I lost my mom really young. And so the most important thing in my life, the most important job for me is being a mother. And so I tailor everything else in my life to that. And so the inability to have the type of relationship that I wanted to have with my daughter and that type of law completely changed the direction for me. I also got pregnant in the middle of law school. And so that was an unexpected blessing and changed a lot of things for me.
It does change your outlook. And when you're thinking of being in charge of these small human beings, it does change the way you look at your whole world. And your husband you said he works with you, but he's not a lawyer?
No, his background is in finance. He ran the operations for a bank. He has a master's in finance, but he's got a knack for marketing. And he was kind of unhappy with the place that his career was also. And, we just decided to take a leap of faith. Like, if you can get me busy enough to support both of us, like, let's do this together. And we are one of those couples that, I don't know what you would call it. Like, maybe some people would say we're codependent, but we prefer to be with each other most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't mean that we're talking that whole time, right? Like, but in the general vicinity of one another most of the time. And so it's actually worked really well for us. I don't know that would be true of other people, but for us, it works.
I love that. I love that you've worked your world organically so that you can live your best life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about the best investment you've made in yourself. Is there something that you can kind of look back on during your journey and say, oh my goodness, if I hadn't done that, I would not ever be where I'm at today?
I mean, for me, that's for sure my education, right? My law degree. And I struggle with the fact that I think I am a lifelong learner. And at some point, like, you have to stop. We're talking about buying a house right now. And my inclination is like, oh, well, I could just get my real estate license, right? Like, I constantly want growth and change, and education for me is such a deep part of my soul that, like, for me, that was the best investment that I made in myself. But if you want like a smaller scale one than my education, I recently got LASIK. It has been game changing for me. I have very, very poor vision. So poor that like when I had my glasses off in the morning and I went to go, like if they weren't right where I left them on my nightstand, I needed help to find them. So having the ability to have vision has been crazy. And I was getting like really bad migraines all the time. And so it's been a thing that I didn't expect to be as life-changing as it was.
I would actually agree with that. I got LASIK 4 or 5 years ago, and I was like, oh my goodness, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yep. A stupid, dumb me. If I could go back and like kick myself to go do it a long time ago, I would have.
But I love the idea too of lifelong education. And my mom went back for a degree, a master's degree at age like 65 or something like that. So I'm not sure you do ever have to give up learning.
My husband would love it if I gave up learning. He's like, aren't you tired? Like, isn't it enough? But no, I don't know, it's who I am.
Yeah. You're like, I want to know all the things, right?
We're just like, I don't even know that it's the knowing. It's the process for me. Like, I loved law school. I loved the setting of like having, like, I don't like online learning. That's not the jam for me. It's sitting in like a lecture and having someone frame something in a way that you never thought of. That's really, and constantly being around people who are smarter than me and learning from those people. That is so exciting to me. Even if it's a topic I'm not particularly interested in, if the person is an amazing speaker and an incredibly bright human, I'm very like attracted to that as a human.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think it's so fun to kind of have that knowledge sort of poured in and understand a lot of different things. I love people who are passionate about what they do. They love what they do and they're passionate about it. And that brings that sense of like, I don't know, learning and joy. I once listened to an engineer tell me about how air and water flow through a building for close to 45 minutes because they were so passionate about that.
Isn't it funny? But like you have no interest in how air and water move, right? But when someone else is super interested in it, it can change your perspective completely.
So, what about the worst advice you've ever been given? Is there some advice that someone gave you that you're just like, oh, that was bad? And did you take the advice? Did you not take the advice? What did you learn from the experience?
I mean, there is advice that I have gotten from various sources repetitively throughout my life. So I come from half Hispanic, half Palestinian background, right? Both of those cultures are very heavy, like stay-at-home mom type of messaging. And so a lot of the people that I'm close with, a lot of my family are stay-at-home moms. And with that came a lot of mom guilt about being a working professional and like a lot of negative messaging about, well, someone else is raising your kids and having your child in daycare. And like, I could never imagine doing that. And so I have with both of my girls done the stay-at-home mom thing for probably about a year each. And I think I was the worst version of myself and the mother during those periods of time. And I treasure them, right? It's really special that I didn't miss a lot of their firsts. And I'm so glad that I had that time. But I also have come to find that I need the professional fulfillment that I get out of my job. And I am better to them when I have that. And so, it's a battle I fight a lot, right? If I pick up my kid from school later than I like that day, I feel terrible that day. And it's just a little voice that I have to silence. But I've gotten that advice a lot. Like, oh, don't prioritize your career. Like, prioritize being a stay-at-home mom. You'll never get that time back. And who knows, maybe 10 years from now, I'll regret working, but I doubt it.
You said the worst version of yourself as you were a stay-at-home mom. Like, what was hard about that? I know what was hard for me. What was hard for you?
I was impatient. I felt unaccomplished. Like, it wasn't that I didn't enjoy the time with them. It's just I would end my day and be like, what did I do today? And I had no motivation to get dressed, do my hair. Like, there were things that were better. Like right now, I'm lucky if I get to cook a meal for my kids a couple times a week, like really cook it. You know what I mean? And so I did a lot of that. And Naomi and I got to make meals together, and that was really fun. But me as a person, I don't think I was as excited as I am. And I think that the quality of the time that the girls and I get together now is better. And we also had no structure. Like and I've been this way since I was a little kid. Um, I need to be busy in order to have structure, because otherwise I just kind of meander through life, right? When I didn't have to be anywhere and I didn't have anything to do, it was not natural to me to be at like, okay, at 8 o'clock we do this, and at 9 o'clock we do this. But the structure has organically formed around my life the way that it is. And all of us are better that way. I like that structure. My husband likes that structure. My daughter Naomi is very structured. Like she likes this way at this time every day. And so she has really thrived on that.
I think that you'll be happy to hear there's some research coming out that just talks about kids of working moms and dads, but working parents, and the amount of success and self-esteem that they find is higher in those kids. They know that they can do things because they've seen their parents do things. So I'm not saying I was a stay-at-home mom for a lot of years, and I really appreciated that time I had with my kids like you. But I also appreciate the working environment and being able to have that validation that comes with a job. And I think the kids look up to that as well. And they can see that mom is doing really neat things in her career, and that they could also do really neat things in their career.
I hope so. I hope she's proud of me. Like I was really proud of my mom. I don't actually remember that much about her, but she was a physician, and that has always been like a point of pride for me. Like that is a hard thing to do, and it's a hard thing to be good at. And I hope that my girls recognize that in me also. And like you said, have the thought that they want to do something that they can be proud of and that they can make their kids proud of too.
Is there anything that you look back on now, Erika, through your professional journey, and you're like, oh my goodness, I wish I had known back then what I know now, because I would have done that entirely differently. Is there anything you can go back and talk about how you would have changed?
Yeah, this one for me is a money thing. I think that there are have you ever heard that expression? There's so many ways to skin a cat.
Yeah.
Right? Like in law school, there's this messaging that the way to make money and the way to make big money is to do like the corporate, scary law, right? And so I was like, I'm going to do that. That's the hard thing. That's the thing that makes the money. I'm going to do that thing. And I didn't even think about the option of going on my own or owning my own business. And both professionally now, like the way that my career has gone, and then also because of the clients that I have, right? Like I am intimately familiar with people's wealth and how they built that wealth. And so much of it is people who take risks and people who do things differently than the way that you're told to is the easiest way or the best way to make money. So I would say that old adage that people say that you hear a lot, like, do what you love and the money will come. I totally believe that. I would have focused more on what I liked and what I enjoyed and what I was good at than what they messaged made the most money.
You did eventually come back around to focusing on what you loved and what you enjoyed, right?
Yeah, but in a way that I wouldn't have expected. Like nobody goes into I don't think, goes into the area of law that I am and like, oh, it's going to be fun, like writing stuff like wills and trusts for people when they die, right? That's going to be a really interpersonal type of law, right? It's kind of sad, but it took skill. So I have a master's in communication. I'm really good with people on an individual level. I have trouble with large crowds, but what people don't really associate with my type of law is that most of the time it's getting to know families and it's getting to know their stories, and it's like some of it is like a little bit therapy, like, right?
Yeah.
And that is what translated well into my personality that I never could have predicted. And I also, because I was raised by my elderly grandparents, and I've always been kind of an old soul. Like a lot of the population that I work with is elderly, and I enjoy that and I love that and I connect with that and I'm passionate about that. And that was something that was a part of who I was that I didn't even realize. And I just kind of stumbled my way into this work.
I love it. I love that you found your way to what you love and what you're passionate about, despite the messaging out there. And I love that you brought up that you can do like you can do things your own way, using your own way of, your own personality and your own way of doing things, and still what you love. I think that's the phrase that I liked the most, is you can do what you love and still be very successful at it, because I'm different from other people in finance. I'm a woman, they're mostly male, and I come at it with more of a relationship kind of feel to it. And that is not typically the way it's been done. And so I hear a lot of messaging about, well, that's not the way you do it. And so I love that you've managed to find your own place and your own niche and your own love, and you're doing it the way that you think it needs to be done and being very successful at that.
Well, I would encourage you to own it, because no, you're not going to be for everyone, but there are people that you will be perfect for because you are that way. And I have noticed that a lot. I'm not a fancy buttoned up suit and tie kind of lawyer. Some people want that. If that's what they want, there's certainly someone out there for them, but it's not me.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I think that's important, to know yourself and know who you are and who's going to work with you. And then you're both happy, right? On both sides.
Yeah.
If you could go back and talk to your 20-year-old self at the beginning of your journey and tell her something, what would it be?
Oh, that's a romance question. The man that I married was so different from what I thought I wanted. 20-year-old me thought that like a drama relationship was like what you see on TV, where he's like constantly chasing after you and fighting after you. And you have this really tumultuous, like back and forth. He's always fighting for you. Like what I found in my marriage and a little bit later on was that every relationship that I had that had been difficult, that was not the right one. And that's not what I wanted. I'm not saying that my marriage has always been easy, right? Like we absolutely have our up and downs, but the us part, the love part, the day-to-day for us was easy. There was not like these huge hurdles that we had to overcome. Like we just fit and it just made sense. And it wasn't dramatic, or I don't know. Yeah. So I spent a long time looking for that, and it wasn't actually what I wanted.
Oh, I like that. That's kind of fun. And that's important. A marriage and relationship is a big part of your life. Like, it doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be easy. That's really valuable advice, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like that saying, like, don't try and force a square peg into a round hole. Like, quit trying to force it. If it's that hard, it's not the right one.
What scared you the most when you started out on your career? And does it still scare you today or not?
I mean, so like when I left the firm that I was at before going out on my own, I had zero plan. I borrowed $2,500 from my dad to start my business. I had no plan. My plan was I will do whatever it is that will allow me to be present for my children. So I was like, I'll go work at Starbucks. Like I can do anything. I don't need to use my law degree. If they're going to suck my soul out of my body, I don't need to do that. And so that was super scary. That was a super big risk, like no plan. And what I didn't expect was that a couple of clients came with me, and I got this messaging. Like I didn't even realize this, that when you leave a law firm, they're required to offer your clients to come with you. And so the lady that I was leaving kind of snarkily said to me, like, well, I'm just going to tell them that you don't have anywhere for them to go, right? Because you don't. And I got mad and I got bullheaded. And I started a business literally overnight. Like applied for my LLC, put together a website, like nose to the grindstone, I'm going to do this and nobody's going to stop me type of thing. And that was really scary. And yeah, I'm still scared sometimes. Like if clients don't come in, if money doesn't come in, all of our lives are centered around my business. Now it's my husband and I working together, but like he doesn't have another income source outside of working with me. So if we can't keep the doors open with my business, Like, we don't eat. So yeah, that's scary. And that's a lot of pressure. But I mean, I'm a person of faith. I believe that, if that happens, it's going to be for a reason and God's going to have another plan for us. And it's probably going to be better than this one.
That is a lot of faith, Erika. I swear to you, I have that same thought where I'm like, just trust, Lorie, just trust. But it is so hard going into that great unknown. So you actually started like that. Like all of a sudden you were on your own. Tell me about that.
It was so crazy. It was so fun. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. I had the benefit of my husband. Like, we are truly a team. The things that I didn't know, he knew how to do because he was running a large scale banking business. So he knew about marketing. He knew about websites. He knew about networking. He knew about all these things that I knew nothing about. But one thing that I will say is throughout that process, like, I was mad enough and I was jaded enough that there was no part of me that was not willing to do things the way that I wanted. And I think in a way that was really good. Like, I wanted it to be clear that I wasn't going to be stuffy. I wasn't going to be buttoned up. I wanted to attract that kind of client. And so I embedded that personality throughout my business. I wanted to be transparent. I embedded that throughout my business. I wanted to be fun. I wanted to be very forward facing with my faith. Like, it is on my website that I'm a Christian person. Like, I wanted that. It is a fundamental part of who I am. I highlighted the fact that I have children. If someone doesn't like that my schedule is going to be somewhat tailored around them, then they can go find someone else. So I was true to who I was in every aspect of how I built the business. And, I'm sure I alienated some clients from that. I'm sure some people turned away from me because of that. Even down to like, there were these folders that I had really liked that I had presented firm that I was working, like a stupid thing, an estate planning folder that I wanted them to use that they didn't want to spend the money on. And guess what? I bought them, right? Like, things that I wanted to incorporate and a style that I wanted to incorporate that was rejected. It was cool because I was empowered to do it once I was on my own.
And turned out very successfully. Like, turns out that when you embody, when you're authentic, when you who you are, and you'd attract people that want that, right?
Yeah, but I feel like I should also say too that a huge part of this process for me was humility. Like, I knew that I was new. I knew that I didn't know what I was doing. And I was very forthcoming about that. And I went to so many people and had so many coffees and so many meetings with other professionals who do what I do. And several of them have become like lifelong friends and mentors for me. And I took a little something from each of them. Like, I would have these conversations about what I was building with each of these people. And there are pieces of the advice that they gave me sprinkled throughout my business, right? And I found that people were much more willing to help me when I didn't bring an arrogance to it. Like, it's okay to be like, I'm super scared and I don't know what I'm doing. Please help me. Like, someone who is successful is going to be excited for the most part, unless they're a butt, right? But for the most part, they're going to be excited to impart their knowledge. And like, I'm excited for the next, I've had a couple people come to me now and say, hey, I'm on this journey. What advice do you have for me? I'm super excited to give that advice. I'm super excited to help someone. And it comes back in spades, right, when you do that. But I was so blessed with so many people who supported me. Like, one of the friends that I'm talking about, who I modeled some of the things around my business, she let me use her space for free for like 3 months. Nobody does that. Who does that? Out of the goodness and support of her heart and of another woman. And I hope that someday I can pay her back in some way. And I hope that I can pay that forward to someone else. But I came to her very clearly, I don't know what I'm doing. Please help me. And she did.
I love that. I love that sense of tribe. You found your tribe. You found your people that were willing to help you grow. And just because they're good humans and you're a good human. That gives me hope for human race, honestly, Erika.
People say all the time, like, it's the world we live in is terrible. The world we live in is awful. But you know what? Like, most of the people that I encounter in everyday life are lovely, are good people. I think that the outliers and the jerks like are the loudest, but 99.9% of the population is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Supportive, nice, trying to make this world a better place just a little bit at a time. They're not hard to find either. I agree with you. They outnumber the jerks. So
They do.
you just
They
have to,
totally do.
yeah, just have to have coffee with them. I love that. I love that you did that.
I did that a lot. I'm telling you, I had borrowed money from my dad. Like my budget was so limited. I had a brand new baby, like brand new baby. And a huge portion of that money that I borrowed from my dad was spent on taking people to coffee, right? Because you don't invite someone to coffee and then not pay for them. So I had my little budget of like how much coffee I could buy for people in order to like invite them. But yeah, I spent a lot of money on taking people out to coffee.
Oh, I love that for you. I want to donate to the coffee budget. Like that would be the way to give back. You know what I'm saying? For someone else. Do you need a coffee
That's a really
budget?
good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll like propose that to the coffee place that I frequent. Be like, hey, if there's young professionals who want to set up coffee on me, maybe that's a cool thing I could do. That's a really
cute.
good idea.
I love it. Did you face any unique challenges because you were a woman?
Oh, yeah. Remember when I told you that I wanted to do like the big fancy corporate law? So in law, that's very tied to how you perform in law school and your rank. So literally, like, are you first in line? Are you second in line? And if you are not in the top 10% of your cohort, you can't even apply for these positions. I worked my tail off and I was second. My best friend was first. So I should have gotten a lot more offers than I did at a lot more prestigious firms as part of the on-campus interview process. Like I checked all of the boxes, but when I interviewed, I was 8 months pregnant. And I did not. I still got a couple offers, but not the same ones that people who ranked lower than me got.
Really?
Yeah. There's nothing more integral about being a woman than being pregnant, right? Like I was visibly pregnant. There was nothing I could do about it.
Huh.
So yeah, that was a unique challenge that I
And
faced as a woman.
this wasn't like 20, 30 years ago. It was like,
no, this was right now. There's always, I mean, these are lawyers, right? So there's always like, what am I going to do? Fight about it? Like, I'm second. I should have gotten this. Like, no, you just like pick up your bootstraps and like go do something else. And had I ended up in one of those jobs, I never would have ended up doing this. Who knows if I would still be married? Like, who knows if I would have another child? Like, my life probably would have been dramatically different and not in a good way.
This was the path you were meant to be on, but hard that it came at that.
Man, I cried. I remember being in my car and just sobbing. How is this happening? What more could I have done? Like, there's nothing else I could have done. And I was devastated. And that was not a high moment of faith for me. And it didn't really show until 2-3 years later, the positive of that happening. It took time. It was not like immediately I was like, oh, this makes sense. This is so great. Like it sucked. I had to live in the suck for a little bit.
I bet your husband was supportive though. He sounds like a great guy.
Yeah, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like every person has their shortcomings and every person has their things that like annoy you, but he's very supportive. And he has supported me and been proud of me throughout my journey. And that means more to me than I can even say.
Erika, what is the thing you are most proud of?
My daughters, for sure. My daughters, they are the most amazing little humans. Like it is unbelievable how much you can love something. They are my everything. Like whatever their lives shape out to be will be my biggest accomplishment.
And that's if you run I don't know how you gauge success in a law firm, but like a 20-person law firm with all sorts of important things happening, it's your kids that mean the most.
Yeah. And like their memories and their childhood. And like we're very intentional about building memories for them. And like if we go on trips or if we do things or building experiences, like this is so lots of people say that they're going to wait until retirement I would really discourage that. Like my mom, I told you she was a physician. She was so successful. She had reached the peak of her success and she died.
Mm-hmm.
My dad has been a career pilot and had a really big health change in his life that has completely changed what he thought his retirement was going to look like. And he spent his entire life like planning for his retirement. So I would encourage people, like, don't wait for retirement. Do the stuff that you want to do now. Like, you don't know what retirement is going to look like.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. And I'm a financial planner. But I love that. I know
that's probably not the best messaging for me to give up your podcast. I'm like, go on a trip, spend the money, buy a Corvette. It's a great idea.
I think that putting off until retirement for living life is a bad choice. There has to be a balance for sure, but I think that waiting until tomorrow to do the things, and you've kind of embodied that with the fact that you do put your kids first. You know, you could have had a whole different career trajectory or a whole different set of values, and you know what your values are. They include those two sweet little kids, and you make sure that your life revolves around what's important to you. I think that's huge.
Yeah, I'm really proud of it.
So, Erika, any advice for a young lady who's just starting down the path that you're already so successful at? Is there any advice you would give them?
Yeah, I think I touched on it a lot. I think be honest with yourself, be bold, take risks, be brave, be kind, be humble. And if you find someone who supports you, hold on to that person and support them. Give it back.
I like that. I think those are all really good pieces of advice for just about any stage of life. But I like the idea. I mean, the title of the podcast is Fearless Female. So I like the idea of being just a little bit fearless. You're scared to death, but maybe try it. You never know what's going to be on the other side, right?
It'll be better. Don't try and plan it. It'll be so much better than what you thought. Let life shock you. It's so fun.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. If I have listeners that want to get in touch with you and ask for advice or just pick your brain or take you to coffee, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, it has yet to become a problem that my cell number is the one on my website. So you can call, you can text, you can email. My website is walterslawyer.com. Yeah, reach out. I'd love to have a coffee. I'd love to have a lunch, whatever that looks like for you. I'd love to support you.
Thank you so much for your time, Erika, and for sharing your story and your journey. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.